Yo, welcome to my channel. And if you guys are new here, my name is JD. I'm an artist from Bristol in the UK. Now today I've got quite a different, exciting, scary, but I reckon awesome video for you guys today. Today I'm actually going to be making my first ever animated story. I cannot wait. Hopefully it's going to look sick. Now I've done a little bit of animation before, as you might have seen in the intro just now. Obviously I created that, but today I'm going to be using the program Adobe Animate. Now I'm not much of a story writer or a storyteller, but this whole episode came from one of my friends, Neil. He wrote this story for his little boy Ethan, and he reads it to him when he goes to bed, and he sent me this and said maybe you could come up with like a cover or some character design for it and make a YouTube video from it. And honestly, this story was absolutely brilliant. I was blown away on how well it was written and stuff, and I thought, no, I need to go a little step further. And if you guys know me, you know what I'm like. I love trying new things. So I thought I'd go a little step further and make an animated video to go with this story. Now I can't wait to do this. I'm a little bit scared. I've never really done the proper deep animation before, and I'm not going to be going super deep into it. I'm actually going to try and keep it mostly still frames, a little bit of movement from the characters, make it a little bit easy on myself for my first time, but I still want it to look good. Who knows how long this is going to take me? This might be one hell of a journey, but I can't wait to get started. So let's crack on. So we start things off with something I'm more comfortable with, and that's just getting all of these backgrounds done. Now I know that these backgrounds are going to be pretty much just a still image that's not going to change, it's just going to stay in the background. So I'm really comfortable with doing this, and I'm starting off on A4 paper with a pencil. Now I know this is not the right ratio, but call me old school, I could have gone straight to digital, but I love the pencil on paper just to get my rough ideas and rough sketches down. So this is why I'm using paper and pencil, not going straight to digital. And I'm just looking at the scenes in the story and picturing what I can imagine the backgrounds looking like and how many scenes there are, and drawing a background for each and every scene. I'm trying to add a bit of perspective to each piece as well, so the characters can be stood a little bit further back, a little bit closer, add a little bit of depth to each piece. With all of the backgrounds designed, I move on to the characters. Now this is again just a rough sketch, just to get me an idea of what I want the characters to look like. There's not too many characters, so this part didn't take me too long. So now with all of these sketches drawn, loads of sketches, I'm going to get my iPad and I'm going to be taking photographs of each one, and then I'm going to be redrawing them all in PROCREATE. So let's get to work. For this step we're using the iPad Pro and just opening up the images that I took earlier into PROCREATE. And yes, I did need to look up what size I needed to make the screen. I actually ended up making it 1080 by 1920. And I also had the DPI, which is dots per inch, up to 300, as wanted it to look a good quality. And I'm just using the iPad on its side, as obviously I want it to be landscape. And as you can see, just loading in the images of the backgrounds. And the next step would to be lower the opacity, which is basically I'm just making it a little bit more see-through, so it's not so bold. And then I add a layer over the top, and this will be my outline for the background. And PROCREATE has a lot of great tools, including the straight line. If you hold the pen down at the end of doing a long line, it'll make the line dead straight for you. And you can also tap the screen at the same time to make the line dead level. And all of these little tricks and tools, including the brushes, you can make them work really smooth for you. You can adjust the tapers, and it just makes life a whole lot easier than obviously doing it with ink on paper. And I've got to say, I do love doing digital designs. And you're actually able to take the wall, for instance, from the first artwork and incorporate that into the second artwork just by dragging it into the second artwork. It's great. There's just so many sort of tricks and tips and excuse me, little ways round of doing things. Some of the brushes, as you can see in the trees, I was using a certain brush which had sort of a leaf texture, so they've got a little bit of textures in there, and this is just why digital art is great. But don't get me wrong, I also like analog art and doing it by hand on paper. It's nothing really beats it, but this is also just so cool. And another plus from using Procreate is I don't actually have to film myself. They actually have this built-in program which you can see here, which records everything that I draw. So I can literally just be sat doing absolutely anything and still give you the footage. Anyway, on to the last background, and this one is outside of the school, and being chickens, the school is called Cluck School. Oh, am I a genius or what? But with all the backgrounds done, we now move on to designing the characters digitally. So same process, I'm just loading in my sketch into Procreate. As you can see here, I've actually got a colour palette which I'm keeping to, and the first step is to start with the outlines. Now what I actually done with this bit is I done every section on a different layer, so this enables me to be able to edit each and every individual layer as I wish. So as you can see, the eyes separate to the mouth, and then the head is separate to the body, and so forth. This way I'm hoping that it will help me to animate it in the long run as well, because in Animate I can go into all the different layers, move the legs about, and yeah, just hopefully, I really don't know because this is my first time, but hopefully this is going to help me in the long run. And now moving on to some little moles. Now there's going to be a few of these, so I do a few different variants, and these are just some sort of generic chickens, few different variants of these as well, and you will see why obviously in the story. Now it's getting quite late, as you can see by my creepy face. Anyway, let's get this last character designed. Now this one is actually the hen. Now again, you'll see all this in the story, but I'm basing this character pretty much off the chicken and just making it brown. So with all the characters designed, the next part is to draw all of the movable parts of the characters. So for instance, the mouth, when they're talking, obviously I want the mouth to be opening and closing. I actually need to draw a different mouth, I need to draw one open. So that's what I'm doing here. And the same for the eyes, when I want them to blink, I need a pair that are closed, so I need to draw a new pair of eyes. Same with certain things like the legs, I'm going to be having them bending, so I need to draw alternate legs. And I'm just basically going through each character and doing all the different parts that I need movable. Now a little background to the story basically is actually called The Skateboarding Chicken, and is a truly inspirational story, basically just about never giving up. No matter how much you fail, you will fail occasionally in life, and you just have to pick yourself up and just keep trying, and you can succeed in your dreams. And I just thought it was a really cool inspirational story which you will see and hopefully you will also enjoy. So yeah, let's get the movable parts done on these characters and then we're on to the next bit. Oh, I knew it.
Perfect.
I can't believe it. I do not have a clue on how this one just slipped through the net. So let's get this last piece finished and hopefully, fingers crossed, it is the final background that I need to do. Then the next step after this is, well, is to learn how to animate. I've never animated before in Adobe Animate, so I'm going to be prowling the amazing YouTube looking for some wicked tutorials, and yeah, I'm just going to sit there for a couple of hours and learn as much as I can. Alright, Kev? And what do I need for a tutorial marathon? Of course, a good old-fashioned brew.
This series of videos, you'll learn everything you need to know to get started in the world of Adobe Animate. Let's do it.
I've done it wrong. Not necessarily wrong, but I could have actually drawn all of the characters and drawn everything in Adobe Animate. Just put my sketch in, draw over the top, and it would have been a vector file, which means I could have blown it up, would have kept the same quality, no matter how far away the characters are. But I've done it my way. Obviously, this isn't like a proper deep tutorial on how to animate. I'm doing things slightly differently. Hopefully it's going to make my life a bit easier, really. Save myself a little bit of time. So, there's nothing else to say, but let's crack on with this animation. And fingers crossed I get it done. Now the characters are PSD files, so I can open these straight up in Photoshop, and as you can see, all the layers are here as I need them, straight from Procreate to Photoshop. As you can see, I have various versions of the chickens, and now all I need to do is basically select each version, file, save as a copy, and save these as PNG files without the background so that I can move the characters about and put them where I need them in each scene. Now I need to save one for each version for each character, so this is the process I'm doing here. As you can see, do one with the eyes closed, file, save a copy, and they're all the same size, so hopefully I won't need to scale up and down too much. Now luckily I noticed this after only doing 2 of the files, but it's actually the wrong way around. The chicken needs to be skating in the other direction, so I just flipped the artwork, and this flipped every version of the chicken for me as well. So then I start the process again of saving each character as a PNG. Now I didn't record this section for you because it would probably be really boring. But as you can see here, I have all my PNG files for the chicken with the different variants of her bending her legs, popping the board and flipping. With all that done, let's open up Adobe Animate. Tutorial? Nah, skip that. I know what I'm doing. I think. No, I'll probably come back to that. So the next step is to select the screen size, select Full HD, which is the same size that I made all of my backgrounds and characters, and here we have it. You got up here is basically your stage, and down here is your timeline. So what I want to do is import my first background. Well, actually, behind the scenes, I did actually make this title screen, which is going to come up just before the animation starts. So I'll put that in by importing it, double clicking, and as you can see now on this first layer you have a little black dot. This shows that there's an image in the keyframe, it's no longer blank. And I want this to be longer, so I'm pressing F5 and this will add frames to it. You just keep pressing F5 until you have as many frames as you want, and as you can see just above this bar here you have the seconds. So I'm going up now, and as you can see it's actually stopped at 2 seconds. So I know this clip will last 2 seconds. I also double click and rename it so I know what I'm working with. And the next step is to create my new layer on top, which I will put my background on. And I'll also name this too. So now I find my background, and I actually just drag and drop it from my desktop. As long as I'm on the right layer, I just drag it straight into the stage. And as you can see, little black dots appeared to show that this keyframe has started here, and this is where my background will be. And instead of pressing F5 loads of times, you can also select the keyframe just after, highlight all the ones in front of it that you want to select and just press F5 and it'll do all of them in one go. And as you can see, it holds that frame for that long. Now next I make a new layer, and this will be where I will put my chicken. Now pressing F6, this will insert a blank keyframe. And with that I go to my chicken again, just from my desktop, and I just drag it onto my stage. As long as I'm selected on the layer that I want the chicken to be on, I just drag it onto the stage and it will start from the keyframe that I selected. And just drag it in place. Now I also want to rescale this chicken. So up in this top corner here, if you click on this free transform tool and hold shift so that I don't stretch her at all or warp it, and I could just scale it down and then just drag it in place by touching the middle part of the chicken, not the edge, and I've got her where I need to be. Now next step is, where do I want her to start? So obviously just outside of the frame is where she will start. And now what I can do is every few frames, or however many frames I want to do, I think I go for 3 frames, I want her moving along and doing a kickflip over the set of stairs. So the way I do this, if you press full stop on the keyboard, this is on Mac by the way, I'm not sure about Windows, but it skips 1 frame at a time. And I do this every 3 frames, just move it a little bit, 3 frames, move it a little bit. And by doing this, as you can see, it's cutting up that keyframe. So each time I do this, the chicken's going to move in the animation. Now when I get to this point, I want to change the chicken to be like the one bending over. So I delete the chicken out of this scene, or I'm just renaming it as well, make sure I know where I am. I just delete this chicken out of the scene and I replace it for the one that I want. And basically I just repeat this process, so the next one will be sort of in the air, and then it'll be flipping, and then it'll be landing, and yeah, just repeat this process throughout each scene. Oh yeah, and if you click this button here, this is the onion skin tool, you can actually see the previous frame. You can adjust this and see however many frames before and after that you want. This will help me to scale it up to the right size, the same as obviously the frame before, and it'll also help me to know where to move it, because obviously I deleted the old chicken. And yeah, that is pretty much it for the whole animation. So I'm basically just going to do this, and I'm probably going to encounter a few more backgrounds to do. Well actually, here's one that I didn't do, which came up as I'm looking through the story. I think, do you know what, this needs a new scene. So yeah, I'll be creating a few new scenes as well, I expect, but it is pretty much just a repeat process from here on out throughout the whole animation. So without boring you to death, I think we'll finish this up right about here. So for those of you that watched that last bit, thanks for watching. And I know it wasn't exactly the right way to do things, but hopefully you guys learnt a thing or two and I helped. And for those of you that skipped to this part, I know what you want to see, and it is time to show you the final. No, it's not actually the final. It's taken me quite a while to get to this stage, so this will be a 2-part episode. Hopefully it won't take me too long to get the rest of the video done, and I'll have part 2 ready for you soon. But obviously, if you're not already, please subscribe to this channel, and if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and don't forget, tick that little bell notification icon, and you will be notified when the video is ready and the next video drops. Oh yeah, there's another thing. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone out there who's subscribed to my channel. I've hit over 1,000 followers now. I am absolutely stoked. Massive, massive thank you. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to show you a little snippet with Neil's voiceover of how far I've got with the Skateboarding Chicken. Enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.
Skateboarding Chicken. Skateboarding Chicken was the best at kickflipping because she practiced it every day. At first she was rubbish, but she had only one wish, that one day she'd land one with every try. Day 1 started with a deck and some grip tape, and a chicken who just wanted to skate. With a push and a shove, she was off with a wobble, but soon she picked up speed and excitedly shouted, "Gobble, gobble!" Using her wing to steady her pace, Chicken was overconfident, like she was racing and coming in first place. She believed that she was nailing the basics, so what else can I try, she thought. Well, maybe some tricks. She once saw a hog, straight from the hedge, skate up and grind the whole length of a ledge. Grinding was cool, but not what she was after. Her style was different, and she thought she wanted something a little faster. Just around the corner were a series of bowls. The only problem? They were all filled with scooters ridden by moles. I'll skip this now, she thought, and come back later. I don't want to interrupt and be thought of as a hater.